So if you're looking for a really easy watch family comedy movie, then I honestly think Vacation Friends 2 is just what the doctor ordered, as you can just sit back and relax, you don't need to think too hard, and you will just have such a good time with this movie. And the brief for the film, you can clearly tell, is just go bigger and bolder and better than Vacation Friends 1, which I do think is such a brilliant movie. It's such a contained, really clear, outrageously fun and enjoyable movie. And I have to say, they were able to rebuild that spark from the first film into this film. And I was a little bit hesitant going into it, as I was like, you can't recapture the magic from the first film in this film, surely. But actually, they did do it really, really well. And they could have gone down the really conventional route of Ron totally destroying the deal for Marcus and then suddenly saving the day right at the end. But actually, they didn't do that. And instead, they brought Kyla's father into it, Reese. And he is the person that is totally being the tornado and is totally ruining the lives of a lot of characters in this movie. And I think they did a really good job as well in terms of really elevating every single character. And they kind of gave every single character a storyline in this film. Some, of course, are bigger than others, but I think is a really impressive way to do it. And Ron and Marcus actually being friends this time around totally changes the dynamic. As, of course, in the first movie, Marcus just wanted to hide Ron from everybody and just couldn't wait to get as far away as possible from him. But then, he does learn a lot from him and then does actually see that he is bringing a lot of value into his life. Of course, he's bringing a lot of chaos too, but you really are able to see the arc in the first film. Whereas this time, like I said, the dynamic is the complete opposite. As actually, they are best friends this time. But of course, similarly, Marcus wants to keep Ron as far away as he can from this multi-million-pound deal. But of course, Ron being Ron as well is just going to invite himself into it. And there are some hilarious sequences with that, but like I said, Reese really is the one causing chaos this time. So let's start by talking about the secondary characters for a change. So Murillo was trying to be so funny, but for me personally, none of his jokes landed. And if anything, he was just being a little bit annoying, and I just felt like as a character, he just wasn't that great. I mean, it was great from a continuity perspective, but at least from a hilarity perspective, he wasn't that great. Ronny Chieng as Ewan was absolutely incredible by contrast. I loved his storyline arc in terms of him being a really intimidating character and not really liking Marcus, to having a lot of rivalry with him and ultimately being the decision maker, but then actually you realize that actually he's not the decision maker when he goes through his own existential crisis in terms of always being put down by Mrs. Kim and not having the confidence to speak up to her. But then he does get the confidence by the end of this film, and then he is able to help represent Marcus. I think it was just such a brilliant storyline arc with this particular character. Warren, by contrast, was absolutely awful. He wasn't threatening at all. I just could not believe this actor or this character being the real big bad and trapping these guys and just nearly killing them and then just being happy to go when he gets his money. I just thought this guy was just such a bad portrayal of what a big bad should be, even in a family comedy movie. Lil Rel Howery was absolutely brilliant in this installment. I love that he wasn't trying to be Kevin Hart, which was my main criticism in the first film, as he was just trying to do a portrayal exactly like Kevin Hart. And I was just thinking, well, why don't you just get Kevin Hart for this first film then? Hulu. But then in this film, I feel like he really did embrace what makes him as an actor really, really funny, which was really, really brilliant in this one, as he was really, really hilarious in certain sequences. And you could totally emote with this guy, as you could really feel his world crumbling when firstly Ewan isn't impressed with him, and secondly when he's trapped and isn't able to do this big impressive speech for Mrs. Kim, and just seeing all of his dreams suddenly shatter. And I thought the sequence on the plane and beforehand when he's got the perfect plan in terms of having fun with his friends and then going into business mode just totally evaporate when obviously everything was just changing and he had to have his business meeting earlier than he was expecting, and then having Reese causing absolute chaos and then having to rely on Ron to help him with his relationship with Ewan. I just thought all of those sequences were really, really nice from a storyline perspective, but also from a comedic perspective, this guy was just rising to the challenge every single time. John Cena was playing John Cena, but he just does it so well, and as the Ron character, he was absolutely hilarious. I love how he is also a lot more supportive towards Marcus, especially after all of the difficulty that they experienced towards the end of the first movie. And he's been elevated so much more from a characterization perspective, as this time he is the one that is having a lot of family trouble. I mean, it's obviously not on the same level as Marcus did in the first film. in terms of trying to impress all of Emily's family members. This time it's only Kyla's father, really, that Ron has to try to impress. But anyway, it was really nice to have a bit of a flip reversal and to kind of see how is Ron going to do it this time. He's always represented as a character that doesn't really get fazed by anything, whereas this time he does get fazed a lot by Reese. And he has a bit of an emotional breakdown, which is a bit unexpected. And Kyla is just as erratic and crazy, but also as lovable as she always is. At this time, she not only is a mother, as well as supporting Ron, as well as trying to be a friend towards Emily and Marcus, but also has her father in the mix too. And how she's able to control both Ron and Reese at the same time, I think was really, really nice. And Emily, of course, doesn't really want to have babies and doesn't want to be a mother. And the way that she was trying to walk around eggshells as she felt, so this is what Marcus wanted. And that app that Marcus has on his phone will just gets him into a lot of trouble, seeing the ovulation cycle of Emily. I thought was absolutely hilarious. And like I said, the first one was really specific in what his objective was. And I didn't think that they would be able to be doing a sequel as successfully as the first film was, but they did do it really, really nicely. Of course, they changed certain things up, for example, the dynamic, the relationships, but it was still a big chaotic thing that they now have to deal with this time. And they evolved the relationship of, friends that you meet on vacation and holiday, and how you can continue being friends with them in the future, but still getting up to a lot of chaos. So kudos to all of the creators behind the scenes, as I feel like they created something really, really nice there. And I think it was really cool to see Marcus's construction friends and how a construction company is now going up in the world and is going to hopefully create a massively incredible hotel in Chicago. So I think, everything was just working together really, really nicely. And I feel like you can learn a lot of lessons. For example, definitely not going down the wrong path, as it can lead to a lot of people's lives potentially being lost, as well as speaking up in business and really valuing yourself and valuing your opinion and never giving up and just being able to be really flexible to certain situations changing, being really able to think on your feet and really relying on certain other characters to really help you when you need help. So, I feel like there are a lot of things that you can learn from with this film, and I'm really intrigued to see where they're going to take Vacation Friends 3 in the future. But as far as this film is concerned, I thought it was really, really enjoyable, and so I'm going to give it a really solid 6.5 out of 10. Now I'd love to hear what you thought of Vacation Friends 2, so let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video.